Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Candid with Index. I'm so excited to have co-founder and CEO of Wiz, Assaf Rappaport with us today.
Hey Shardul, and great having you in Tel Aviv.
Thank you. So I wanted to start with kind of the beginning. What do you think are some of the foundational formative experiences that motivate you?
I think I would say for me, probably it would be the 8200 unit. In Israel, we have a mandatory service, and the 8200 unit is kind of famous. It's kind of the Israeli NSA, probably the best school for entrepreneurship. And I think for me, the experience was coming basically as after high school to a place that I saw the importance of having such amount of amazing people in one place and what the impact could be. If you take such a great talent plus an amazing technology, basically the sky is the limit, and the ability for us to create impact for, in this case, Homeland Security, inspired us to do, many of us, to do many things after when we got released, that basically we can do almost everything. So seeing that potential there, that was a great experience for me.
Some things have changed. I think with experience, both at Adallom and at Microsoft, you've accrued a lot of new experiences that give you even more confidence, I think, in terms of what is achievable. What do you think has changed about your motivation and confidence in starting a company first, and then we'll talk about personally?
To be honest, when you're kind of naive when you're starting your first company. You don't want to know what to expect. I think when you're starting a second company, it's going to be a roller coaster. So I think that was one thing. And also, it's kind of, Adalum was a great success. We sold to Microsoft $320 million. Having said that, maybe number two not going to be as successful. Everybody are expecting you to at least be as successful at Adallom. So I must say it wasn't an easy decision. Having said that, I had the best founders in the world that pushed me to the right decision, and I think that once you have the right team, I think it's easy to take even the hard decisions.
Yeah, and in a difficult moment in the industry at the beginning of the pandemic.
At the first, I would say, couple of months, it didn't feel like the right decision to leave Microsoft to start a new company. It felt like a huge uncertainty, and trust me, you have enough uncertainty when you start a company to add a pandemic that you never had in the world. That wasn't feeling right. Having said that, and I think that's kind of something to always remember. In history, probably if you ask me, choose a date to start a cybersecurity company in the cloud, probably March 2020 would be the best timing. So I think you can never time, and sometimes it feels off and not right, but probably, it was the best timing for us to start.
Outside of Wiz, you've also, I think, found your voice in being bold as a leader in tackling tough subjects and tough issues locally and globally. Again, where does that kind of motivation and confidence come from to stand up for what you believe in?
I think that, eventually when you think about business and, nowadays business, it's all about the people. And when you're talking about people and culture and values, you cannot, divide it in a way. So when you think about that, you must be involved, and show your values, not only on the business side or even in the culture inside the company. I think it affects society. So I think that's what we're also seeing, by the way, around the world. And we're being inspired by great other companies that are doing the same, that, the involvement in your society is super, super important as the business that you're creating.
How do you think about the human aspect of customers and in the form of finding product market fit?
So my thinking when we're thinking about Wiz, and by the way, always, I think in any technology, definitely in the cybersecurity space, you need to understand what are the priorities of customers, and you need to understand that it's people first, processes, and then technology, and then the product that actually supports the two that are above. And I think when you build a product in that mindset, and security is a great example. The biggest problem of CISOs is not that they're missing technology, they have enough technology. It's the lack of talent that they have in the cybersecurity space. It's the processes that they need to run. Definitely if you think about moving to the cloud, it changed the world about the CISOs. How do you manage security from centralized security, centralized IT, to democratizing, your IT, your network, your applications, everything. What are the different processes? And only then come technologies to support that. So I think that feeling the human aspect and understanding truly the problem. And we love technology, that's what we build, but understanding the priorities, I think that's what made Wiz successful in a way. And also if you look back to the talent itself, I think that looking at what's the best option for the talent, you cannot deceive people about what they're getting, what they're not getting. I think being super upfront. And again, our belief is like, hey, Wiz is a great place. Hopefully it's a great place also for you as a talent, but I would love to show you everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly at Wiz, so you make the best decision for you.
Do you think the human aspect, thinking about building your team, thinking about the problems prioritized for your customers, is the key ingredient to your meteoric growth from 1 to 100 million of ARR in 18 months?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that people is one of the things, but also to be honest, you need a huge market, and you need a market that is already, I would say, educated in a way. And that's kind of the difference between the first startup and the second startup, between Adallom and Wiz. Adallom, we and many other great startups built the CASB, the cloud access security brokers industry, even before it was coined by Gartner, for example. So it was a lot about education. Why do CISOs should care about Salesforce or Office 365 security? Why it's their problem? So that it took us, years to educate the market. Wiz was a different aspect. Wiz was a market that was already established in a way. We kind of were competing with companies that were established at the Adallom days, if you think about it like that. But being bold at this statement, understanding that, hey, we can do things differently, and with a different approach, we can come to this problem and actually win. That's what allowed us to move super fast.
How did you convince leading organizations, Salesforce, Morgan Stanley, Mars, I remember, to trust you, right, in what is a critical platform for them in their future?
So I think it's first solving an important problem for them, because when they're betting on new technology, it should be like solving a big problem. So that's one thing to remember. But I think it's also something that it's a maturity of us as a team, which is important. So yes, we started 3 years ago. Having said that, I would say we started 22 years ago in a way, when I first met our founders, and when we learned all about cybersecurity in 8200 unit, when we learned all about startups in Adalom, in our first gig as a startup, when we learned everything about scale, about enterprise sales in Microsoft. So it's 3 years, but having said that, I would say it's more like a 22 years that took us eventually to go to the Morgan Stanleys of the world, to the Home Depot of the world, and eventually winning their hearts.
Yeah, in conversations I've had with Ami, I think it's clear from day zero, you thought differently about bringing the product, the sales, the marketing, the post-sales organizations together, not only to sell to enterprises, but to service enterprises. And I think, again, it comes from this human element of meeting all of the organization and the individual's needs in a really authentic way.
I think that one of the things that we learned through our experience, that you cannot outsource your problems in a way. As an entrepreneur founder, you always like, hey, I would bring, an amazing VP of sales, and she's going to solve our problems. Or if it doesn't work, I'll bring a partner. This partner in this channel going to sell whatever we can sell. And I think that we understood that unfortunately, you cannot outsource your problems, and you need to solve them yourself. So I think one of the things that we did, we didn't recruit any rep. Our first rep joined when we have already $2 million in ARR, when we already have some of the great logos that you mentioned. And the team that actually sold the product was the product team. But that was key for our success. We never tried to outsource or to solve a problem by, a deus ex machina that's gonna solve your problem instead of you.
How do you choose which problem to solve next? There's so many opinions. There's so many different problems you can tackle. Optimization versus scaling as an example. How do you choose what to focus on?
That's an easy for me, at least. I'm horrible on choosing the right flower. That's why I have a great team and my founding team. So I think it's kind of relying on the best people in each aspect to solve. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is always like be in a room and look and make sure that I'm the most stupid one in the room, and then I'm like calm, because then I just need to listen, and that's easier.
Talk about the industry, like the cloud industry. What do you think are the biggest challenges that more industries, more enterprises will face in adopting the cloud?
So I think what we're seeing in the cloud is basically kind of we saw during the last 3 years, companies rushing to the cloud. COVID was one of the reasons, but not the only reason. And we actually created like a security debt in the cloud. So I think that the problem was big. And I think the mindset has changed from centralized IT, centralized security that owns everything to, a team that now maybe can find the problem, but they definitely cannot solve the problem. In order to solve the problem, they need to bring DevOps and the developers themselves in order to solve these kind of problems. And these problems are proliferating. If you think about it, it's not only one cloud, it's multi-cloud, it's multi-tech, it's different tech stacks that they own. So the problem is really, really big. And the way, how do you solve it? You need to transform not only digital transformation, but it's also security transformation to the new era. And I think that's what companies are facing now.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is there's probably like $260 billion of spend on cloud today. That will become $1 trillion over the next 10 years. Which means that the cloud is being adopted in every single theater, in every single segment of the world, in every single vertical, which creates another challenge for you in meeting those needs as a global organization. Tell us, how is it to be dual headquartered between New York and Israel?
So first of all, it's very hard because it's not only, if you think about it, it's two different almost cultures in a way. One, Israel, mainly engineers, everybody are coming to the office every day, even during COVID. So that's one thing. Versus go-to-market team, that it's much more sparse across, less coming to the office, much more solo workers in a way. So I think the way to think about it is, first of all, to be aware of that. That, hey, you have different people, different geographies, different functions that will function differently. And I think the way to think about it, that they're different, but the same in a way. So investing the same fund, the same resources in both kind of different ways that you're working. Having said that, I would say it's very, very hard to solve.
What do you think you have to do differently to overcome the challenge?
Oh, so first of all, you need to travel a lot. You need to meet the people. I think that's one of the important things. And I think also, even being sparse and working from home and stuff like that, we cannot change the human element of that. So what we're trying to do is at least once a year to meet everybody, so you have the opportunities. Another thing that we created is kind of hubs. So even if you're far away, you have a hub. It shouldn't even an office. It could be a hub that you're creating activities, so you meet the team, you meet other people. I think it's being mindful and talking to the people and basically asking what's important for them, what they would like to see, and learn from them. That's the best advice.
You have already kind of supported 35% of the Fortune 100. What's next for Wiz?
Oh, so it's a great question. I think next for us is continuing and actually recruiting the best talent. You set the bar, which is a very high bar. Once you scale, it's very hard. You have the funds, you have the pressure and the demand from the market, so you need to grow. You actually need. And how do you keep the bar? So I think that's kind of the thing that we're next for us. How do we scale? How do we become a 1,000, 2,000 people company and still keeping the highest bar?
Assaf, you've had a number of world events that have created a range of experiences for entrepreneurs, and the boom of 2021 and the adversity of the last 18 months. How has Wiz been able to be focused and kind of almost being undistracted by the noise of booms and busts while serving your customers?
It's important to understand that the security market and the demand for security, and definitely for cloud security, didn't change. So although we see it, and we all felt the potential recession and the boom, of course, of 2020 and 2021. So for us, having said that, the demand for security and the budget that people invested, that companies are investing in security, actually continue to grow. And this is an important thing, and that's kind of when you're focusing again, customer obsession, and focus on customer and their demand. So for us, yes, of course there is a change. Of course we are changing we're more thoughtful about how do we expand and where do we expand and how do we spend the money. Having said that, there wasn't a very big difference in the market, in the security market for us.
I would disagree. I think the security market did get affected. I think point solutions that were aiming for innovation spend for a undiscovered threat, as an example, that budget has disappeared. I think customers do rely on platforms that consolidate a number of different services because it requires less humans to operate and maintain the technical debt that accrues with stitching together 5 different products. So I think your experience of market demand has been very different than a range of other companies even in the last 2 years.
Actually, I really agree. People are focusing on being more efficient and consolidations into platforms. I think being an important, not a feature, not a niche in a way, is important nowadays, and building a platform is important. And for us, it's actually an opportunity, I would say, sometimes, as we talked about, like a recession might be even an opportunity, to even grow faster.
Do you give advice to entrepreneurs who are starting a company now, whether it's in security or other domains, to build a platform from the get-go, or to aim for a more narrow solution that might address an immediate pain?
Yeah, I would say that think that you're building, eventually you're going to build a platform. Otherwise, you're going to be bought or acquired, or you couldn't build a big company without that mindset. So build for scale from the get-go, build your technology. Having said that, solve a problem. Make sure that you're solving a problem, not boiling the ocean. So it's kind of a tension that you need to play with, that you're solving an important problem from the get-go, but build it as a platform to the future.
I'm sure entrepreneurs come to you all the time, which is why I asked the question. Do you give them any advice on shortcuts to identify the trust amongst founders that's so critical to making decisions, to disagreeing and moving forward, to recruiting a team and creating a culture that's athletic but focused at the same time?
I think that what I learned in my experience is when you're recruiting people, think about not only on their past experience and what they've done in the past, but also, and actually mainly, on the potential that they have. One of the things that I learned, that it's very easy to bring someone that already did that and going to do that again, but sometimes it's not working. It's not the same playbooks that are going to work in different times or different companies or in different markets. So I think the potential is much more important. So I found that sometimes bringing actually the number 2 that saw number 1 and for the first time is taking the role and leading with that and creating a new playbook works better for us, for example.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Great, thank you, Assaf. It was so fun to be here with you, and appreciate you participating in Candid with Index.
Thank you, Shardul.